That's perfect. Let me ask one more time. How's everybody doing this afternoon? That's better. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for coming to Southeast Stories Meetup Show. My name is Skyler McCurine, and I am a fourth generation Southeast San Diegan. I want to talk to you a little bit about what this project is that Justin and I have been working on for the past 8 months. And then we're going to get started with our 6 exceptional storytellers that are coming here to share their real life experiences with all of you. So, Southeast San Diego takes up about, I would say, a good 50 to 60% of San Diego County, and yet when the Union Tribune is publishing articles about the city of San Diego, it just so happens that the neighborhood with predominantly black and brown people is not counted as a significant part of San Diego County. So often when stories and narratives are told about this community, it's written from someone who is not from here. It is written by somebody who is an outsider. And so Justin Hudnall from So Say We All, he's over there, his Ray-Bans and tattoos. Justin started a project about 2 years ago where he started recording the oral history of San Diego's significant neighborhoods. And he started in East County in La Mesa and Spring Valley, sharing the stories and listening and interviewing people in his neighborhood, sharing about how they got there, where their families came from, how they even came to San Diego, and most importantly, commenting and telling stories about what's taking place in the neighborhood that other people just might not ever see or know. And he then naturally looked at the map and then traveled south, and then he came to us. And that's where Justin and I started working together. I've been producing shows for So Say We All for about 2 years as a volunteer. I do performance coaching, writing coaching, and I believe that storytelling is one of the most powerful tools that we have. I believe that it is one of the quickest pathways to accessing humanity of others and also for ourselves. So given the opportunity to share stories about a neighborhood where my family has grown up and where I have deep roots just felt like a real privilege and a real honor. So we have been working for the past 8 months interviewing people in our community, from political candidates, as we have Monica Montgomery here running for City Council of District 4. Monica, I see you, queen. We have been interviewing people who have had businesses for 3 to 4 generations in Southeast San Diego. And so we've been partnering with KPBS to feature some of these stories on the radio. And so these episodes will be coming out later in the fall. But we want to start, I said shart. Sarah, can you hand me the other pages of my story? We wanted to start featuring and sharing some of those stories with the people that we've been interviewing. And so today we have 6 amazing human beings who have grown up in Southeast, and they are going to be sharing their experience growing up in this community, and I am the first to begin. So with that, shall we begin? Okay, let me just make sure my story's in order, because you know there's wind. All right. Okay. On the corner of Encina Drive sits a yellow house with roses and an empty lot that's been turned into a rock yard. In the center of the lot sits a large rock holding 2 gray ceramic lovebirds seated next to each other. These birds are Lola and Warren, my grandparents, overlooking the city, the windmill, their children, grandchildren, and the lovely little yellow house. While Lola and her social club, Les Jolies Femmes, took a trip to San Francisco, Warren bought the house that him and his wife toured the day before. He purchased this home while she was out of town, and upon her return, his decision was met with justified rage. And he promised, "Don't worry, baby, I'll fix it up for you." His fire department from Station 19, the pioneering men who were the first to integrate into any U.S. fire department, built that house with their hands. On weekends and holidays, my grandfather and his crew made good on his promise to fix Lola's nightmare asset into a dream home. Our little yellow house has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a brass fireplace, and big kitchen with sand-colored wooden cabinets that my grandfather installed himself. My grandmother taught me how to make mac and cheese with her secret fire bechamel sauce in that kitchen. It holds the window from which she would sit daily and spy/inspect our neighbors. Her favorite thing to do is to observe and critique the day's comings and goings seated from one of her many thrones. She watches our neighbors, the cars on the street, and our movements with an intense dedication. And I'm telling you right now that the CIA doesn't have dick on a grandma with a window. She gets to critique the neighborhood and enjoy her most favorite thing second to gin, sunshine. She sits on the porch for hours chasing the sun and rereading the morning paper, last month's Architectural Digest, and any article that mentions Michelle Obama. My grandpa was special. He was a longtime animal whisperer, had an assortment of dogs and special blue jays that would come visit him in the morning, upon which he would greet with a song, a whistle, and a sparkle. The garage doubled as my grandpa's workspace, and his fireman's uniform hangs on the wall, always scaring every child who has to go down there to bring lemonade or see what he's up to. It's terrified generations of children, so different than the strong but gentle man who wore it, his armor for saving black and brown families from losing their homes, children, and special heirlooms that generations before had sometimes risked their lives in order to buy and protect. Our yellow house has perfect and abundant natural light. Flowers live longer here. There are 2 poinsettia trees and a view of our city that spans across the county, and Lola's siblings visit her often. She'd freak me the F out, mentioning Al, who's been deceased for over a decade, just walked by. It has a porch in the back, front, and side of the house, offering 3 different quiet places to gather your thoughts, spy on neighbors, and enjoy a gin and tonic, as my grandparents did every day at 3 p.m. Warren shared his last cocktail March 22nd, 2008. My grandfather's laugh, leadership, homemade strawberry shortcake, and the values of threading function and form that filled their home until that day. After his passing, the house and Lola were left alone. As often happens when half of a couple goes, the other is left much rawer than before, and Warren, no longer able to overcompensate for her, left her looking older, thinner, and much more forgetful. 6 years after his death, her memory loss became much more than that. No longer eating food or her taking her medication consistently, she'd always leave her pills to the side, and it was clear that something needed to be done. I swirled into my grandmother's house, fueled by a cocktail of self-righteous naivete, the financial constraints of being a renting entrepreneur in the state of California, familial duty, and love on Halloween 4 long dementia-filled years ago. I vowed not to let this disease consume my whole life. Did you hear that? That's the sound of God laughing his ass off at me. It was hard, but I managed to wedge out time for romance, trips, adventures, and respite, despite the relentlessness of the illness. While I managed to do me, this disease aged me along with Lola. It's the only thing potent enough to transition this vibrant Sex and the City Samantha Jones into a Golden Girls Blanche Devereaux in under 3 years. My grandmother is a perfect blend of Nelson Mandela, Yoda, Ruby Dee, and a lemur. She's snarky, sweet, and always has a sharp comeback. And when my grandma hits you with that lemur eye, you know to duck and cover and prepare yourself for the insult that is coming to slice your self-esteem in half. She can snatch your life with one sentence and smile while she does it. I call my grandmother by many names. Grammy, our collective nickname of No-No, Lola, Lolita Bobita Queen, and when she irritated me, Felicia. A minimum of 20 times daily, Lola would survey her surroundings and say, "Where are we?" "Bobita," I repeat her question back after holding my arms up, showing her the bounty of the room. "Where are we? Tell me where we are." "Well, I see my little rascals over there," pointing over to the photo of my brothers as babies. "Yeah, we're in your house." "This is my house?" "Yes, this is your house. I have an idea. How about I get you a cool glass of vanilla Ensure?" I can sway my grandmother to do anything. Take her meds, take a bath, wake up by baiting her with her favorite liquids: coffee, Tanqueray gin, vanilla Ensure, and Chardonnay. My grandmother's stress would always be settled upon hearing, "Yes, this is your house." Calm until she would ask me again, sometimes an hour later, sometimes immediately after, sometimes not until 4 p.m. Lola goes from knowing to pretending to not know, all within minutes. 6 months ago, sundowners began coming around much earlier in the day. 2 to 3 hours of confusion were now 6 to 7 hours of agitating confrontation. Improv liquids patience, validate, distract, repeat. Nothing was working. My Lolita moved out 6 months ago, and I was sure that I would be first. She moved into a memory care facility 2 miles from the little yellow house that has served as a sanctuary for our tribe the past 6 decades. With swollen eyes and a resentful heart, I went to visit her on her first night to cunningly inspect her care team and tuck her into bed. The best time of our day. Upon seeing her in her new apartment, she looked up at me with a sedated smile, and in seeing me, she started the line of her Keats poem that hangs outside of her bedroom. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Listen, Skyler, my flight's been delayed, and I don't know how I'm going to get home. That's okay, Grandma. I made your flight arrangements already, and I made sure I left your ticket at the front desk of the hotel. We did this song and dance a few more rounds after I reassured her that her plane ticket was with the receptionist in the lobby of the hotel. Here we are. This is just another hotel while she awaits her flight to San Diego. She looked at me and said, "Well, this is the last leg of my trip, honey. After this, Grandpa's making arrangements to come and get me." And on October 27th, always true to his word, he did just that. I slept on the floor of her room every night when she began her exit. I was there when he came and got her. My family lovingly took the silver bracelet that she wore every day since the day she received it 50 years ago and placed it on my left wrist. While they gave me a pretty consolation prize, they made the unfortunate decision to sell the house, knowing how much I wanted it. It's just so hard for Black folks to have things and to own things, and the little yellow house is no longer Lola's. I tried every way I know how and knew how. My neighbor even applied for a home loan, as a veteran has a stronger chance than a single Black woman, but in the end, we were both just niggas. To keep the yellow house where I learned how to ride a bike out front, or how I learned to roll a joint from my neighbor LeBron James, I learned so many magical things and trash things, like how to dance with a relentless disease, how to save my family from this excruciating reality and the resentment of actually doing it so they won't have to. I learned the ugly truth that my family isn't always perfectly good and clean and gracious, always dressed well. I learned how to come face to face with my own mortality every day, how to smuggle men in and out of my basement like refugees, and how to be a single parent to a grown baby, constantly choosing between my social life, career, and the guilt of choosing those over her. I even learned how to create a new memory that she recalled, the special day when all of the little girls in my life came over and we gave her a parade. I put the painted flags covered in glitter on the front porch, so when she'd sit in the sun, she could see them and remember, and she really did. We created miracles in this house. And as of 3 weeks ago, it sold to a newlywed couple who I don't know and hate very deeply. Removing the final items from our family sanctuary for the past 60 years is awful, but I did my best to leave it. My grandfather called Valencia Park the La Jolla of Southeast, and you can keep your La Jolla. I choose a shelter on Encina Drive over the 5 North any day. My family thanks me for being a sweet granddaughter versus the leader who cracked the code on Lola's care, the woman who went where no one dared go. And it was in Southeast that I learned for real that I was the woman who was always willing to go where no one else could. Thank you.